Hello and welcome to Tech Talk, where everything we talk about is tech, from gadgets to security to your personal PCs to problems and such. Today, I'm Dwayne Rigsby. Mike and Kingsley is out today, but I have a special guest with us, another Mike, if you would. Mike Arnett. He is a local computer business owner, and we're going to talk about some things from some security issues to what he's seeing out there in the world today as far as what's cleaning up and things like that. So I'd like to welcome Mike. How are you doing today?
Doing fine, thank you.
Good, good. So, Mike, tell me a little bit about how you started this business, or what? Give me a little bit of background about yourself.
Sure. I started my professional career working in academia. I worked at a university teaching programming languages, and I also worked at another educational facility as an IT director. I then transitioned to the private sector in the role of IT director. I started a personal business in 2006, which is CompWeServe, with the intent of providing access to small business owners to an IT professional at an affordable cost. It was my experience that most small business owners did not have a dedicated IT professional on staff, and that they would have to consult these out, and sometimes at very exorbitant cost. To the small business, and so therefore they would let those services go unfinished because of the expense and the problem in finding a technical resource. So it's a nice market niche to kind of fill.
Oh, good. So the services that you provide, is it a just pay as you go? Do you offer different things? How about contracts or anything like that?
Sure.
I know we were talking earlier about that, and that you're maybe starting to offer some.
Yeah, we do provide pay-as-you-go services where clients can call for contact support, and that would mean if they have an issue, they call in technical support. We come in, we resolve that issue, and it's a time engagement. We also provide contracted services where we can be, in a sense, on retainer, so that we can be on call for a client should they have any technological needs. We provide support through on-site visits. We also do a lot of remote support. The technology has dramatically improved for us to be able to do remote calls into people's networks and fix many issues from far away remote distances. This gives us such an advantage in time response to problems, and it does make it more affordable for the customer because there's not a travel time to get there to provide the service.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. So as we were talking, obviously, let's cover just a little bit of security news real quick. I just watched the news this morning, and I seen that Google announced that they're going to do some updates on their search engine, and to be able to do more familiarity searching, if you would, kind of comparable to or comparable to some search engines you see like on Facebook and other things like that, that'll give you more information related to your search, so you can follow those in depth more. And then also, I also seen that Google's also offering some two-factor authentication, a little bit more in detail about that. And that's the stuff I seen this morning. I know there's other stuff that Kingsley usually covers that for everyone else, but for right now, I'm going to ask Mike, what do you see out there in the world today as some of the problems, your day-to-day problems? Let's cover day-to-day first. What does somebody normally call and say, well, I've got a problem? What's the first thing you hear usually?
Sure. We will receive calls obviously on a wide spectrum, any technological problem that you might imagine. But some of the more common things that we see are what people interpret as virus issues. So we will receive a call, and the end user or client, if you will tell us that they have a virus on their network or on specific client workstations. once an investigation is made into this, oftentimes we find that it's not necessarily a virus. And I think it's that's kind of a terminology issue for a lot of people, that they think anything that is on their computer that is unwanted is classified as a virus. And you're also dealing with malware and spyware. A virus, in a short description in my mind, would be something that is intended to harm the performance of your machine, maybe harm the integrity of your data, and make your machine less useful or productive in the sense that it's not functioning. Malware, the intent in often cases is to it will slow the performance of your machine, but it's an information gathering attempt. Malware, you will see advertisements, things of that nature can fall into those categories. It's not necessarily a malicious intent of the program that has invaded your machine, but rather
now
it's
I'm going to stop you right
Sure.
there just a second. Now, when you say advertisements, a lot of times I've heard that they'll say, "Oh, I've got a pop-up here and it says my machine is infected." Is that what your advertisement you're talking about?
That there is a interesting component that we've seen a lot of. When that happens, you've been redirected to a website that wasn't of your choice. You're not necessarily dealing with an infection at that point.
Okay.
Oftentimes, that instance they will have sound. They may have a warning telling you, "Warning, your system is infected," or it may play alarm klaxon sounds, trying to get your attention. And many people respond to those prompts. And what you'll see in those websites is you'll see a telephone number or a website to go to, and what they're trying to do is bait you to get you to contact them. And if you do, an individual will try to gain remote access to your machine, and then it's kind of game over. You've kind of invited the wolf in at that point.
Right.
And now you will have issues. My advice to people, if they see those occurrences, you can do a Control-Delete function. You can do a stop task function on those browsers that happen to get redirected. Close it, and your machine is probably okay. If you've not taken any of the actions recommended. I would run a virus scan using your current virus software just to be sure, but you're probably okay if you stop at that point.
Now, so what you're saying is don't click on that little window.
Yeah, do not.
Don't even click on the little red X.
Yeah, don't even try to close it that way. Yeah, exactly.
A lot of times that's even the little red X gives you a problem.
That's an extremely good point, because what you're seeing is something that's been engineered by a programmer. And in most programs, the little red X closes the application. Well, if I engineered it and I was a virus producer, I would probably engineer the red X to be an OK button, or to say install, to give them approval. So that's a very good point. That's why you might want to do an in-task function to stop the program in its tracks so it can't take any action and infect your machine.
So what if somebody does get infected to a degree? What do you tell them, or what's some of the recommendations that you may give them as far as, oh, well, do you do your bank records or things like that? What's some of the steps that you tell them to take?
Yeah, when in dealing with sensitive information like that, if you feel that your machine has been compromised in any way, you should be very cautious of any information. Passwords. A lot of us, we live in a world now where passwords, we're inundated with passwords. We have passwords for everything.
Yes, we are.
There are several password tracking programs that you can keep for yourself that will securely guard your passwords. But I still see many people have a file on their machine, probably titled passwords.
Passwords, probably a little text file or something.
And their passwords are located there. If your machine's been compromised, someone that would be an intruder to your system would necessarily look for files indicating they might be a password stash. And but if you feel that you've had any risk to your machine at all, change your passwords. Change them for all of your banking needs and everything that you have. And I know that sounds daunting, but you should change your passwords on a regular basis anyway. And speaking of passwords, I strongly recommend that people obviously do not use the same password for all of your your sites.
But that's so helpful that one password, I can get into everything.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
As a couple of our producers out back there are just grinning and from ear to ear going, well, I use that all the time.
It's extremely helpful to you, but it's even more helpful to the hacker that gains that one password.
As they say, well, they don't know what site I go to.
Sure.
Not true, people. Not true.
No, as you watch, we talked about virus, malware, spyware. As you watch, just notice your average surfing experience on the internet. If you happen to look up a particular item, notice when you go to your Google browser the next time, it's odd. A little advertisement shows up that pertains to those items that you were looking at. The sites that we go to, they are being monitored. Google offers a lot of free services, but folks, we all know nothing's free.
True.
So the services that the payment that you're giving them is data. Metadata, and they are farming you to see what your interests are, where you go, what you like, and they sell that information to businesses so that they can know how to market their products. And they're open about that. Google doesn't hide any of that, of course, at all. And I'm not saying that that's even a bad thing, but just be aware that you leave a footprint on the internet. Everything that you do leaves a presence that other people can and do look at.
Good point on following the cookies and things of that nature. Is there ways that we can help ourselves to prevent that? Should we go in, probably the ordinary person doesn't know how to go in and say delete their cookies or delete their history or things like that. Should somebody run a program that does that on a regular basis? Yeah,
and that is a good idea. And there are a multitude of applications that could be beneficial for these purposes. And I hesitate to recommend specific applications. But there are many applications that can clean your browsing history. They can clean your cookies. They can clean these items that are installed on your machine, if you will, just by your normal navigation on the internet, just by the sites that you visit. The machine stores things to try to assist you in your next navigational experience and to try to follow your likes and understand your nature, and those things are used to track your progress and the likes that you have on the internet. So there are a lot of things that can to clean your system, and it's advisable. And to some people, I say, you separate. This is a personal philosophy I have. I separate my business from my entertainment. And what I mean by that is most of us now have multiple devices that we can browse the internet with. We have tablets, we have laptops, we have PCs, the traditional PC. When I do business functions, banking functions, that's a machine that I limit extremely my entertainment navigation on the web. And then I use my tablet or my laptop for those purposes. If I want to browse items that I'm interested in buying, or if I want to watch movies or whatnot, I use a different device than I use for my sensitive information. It's just a little level of protection to guard the machine that contains the sensitive stuff. Because in reality, if something were to happen to my laptop or my tablet, I'm comfortable, fixing that. Starting over, reformatting the machine and beginning anew. Because there's little risk that anybody could have access to my sensitive information that way.
Right. Mike, we're going to take a real quick break right now, and we'll be right back to talk about some more of this internet and maybe tracking issues. Welcome back to Tech Talk. I'm Dwayne Rigsby, along with a special guest here, Mike Arnett. He's a local business owner, computer business owner. Company is CompWeServe, and we've been talking about internet and the tracking that maybe a Google or even a malware or something like that might be doing. So, Mike, we were talking about you using multiple devices and keeping that, maybe that banking or personal or that real private data on one machine. And if you're listening to music or, you know, watching movies or things like that, you know, Netflix or things like that on a PC or something, you're doing that with a tablet or something separate.
All right.
So I'm gonna ask just a little bit, and that's probably that's a great idea, people. It really is. But to a normal user, sometimes they don't think about that. So what if you're on a laptop, surfing the web and stuff like that? Can something come in on that and then still infect your PC that you're doing your personal, your banking and information like that?
Very good question and very good topic to consider, because whether you know it or not, at your home you have a network. Yep. We often think of networks as this being something that's in a business location. When I hear the word network, I'm thinking something professional. Well, at home you have a network as well. Everyone that is using the internet is using a router. Yep. The router is your network hub, so to speak. All your devices are trafficking through that machine. So therefore, they are all interconnected in a sense. And there are threats that can cross platforms. They can cross into other machines. So if you have a horrendously infected machine in your environment, some of the things you will definitely see is a depletion of your bandwidth. In other words, you're surfing much slower on your uninfected machine because the infected machine is broadcasting like crazy, taking up all of your internet bandwidth. But you do have a risk of exposure, and I know we are starting to talk about things that maybe get a little more complex, where you could set up independent networks, even in your home, where you could have a network that is isolated for your entertainment purposes, and then you could have a network that is isolated for your professional work activity. Saying that and doing that are two different things, right? Obviously,
and to the end user, it is probably a little harder.
It's a more of a daunting task,
But in a nutshell, what is it? It's basically buying two routers or two wireless routers from your local big box store or something, right? And plugging them in, obviously, in the right direction to where one connects to one and one connects to the other. And that's really what we're talking about, right?
Of course. And many routers also have something as simple as called a guest network.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And the guest network, if you enable that, you can join the guest network, and it is a private network that is independent from your other network. So if I'm going to have a device and I'm going to do a lot of surfing, I'm going to do a lot of shopping off that device in the sense of where I'm trying to find items I'm interested in, not purchasing them. Possibly on that device, but I'm doing all my surfing, I'm watching my movies, I'm streaming music, I'm doing all these things that could expose me to risks because I'm kind of less careful in my clicking. You know, I'm more open to clicking on links and things with that machine. That could be ran on your guest wireless network. Totally protects you from the other devices on your network. So if that machine gets horrendously infected, it's isolated. Now. I said something a little earlier. These are just my patterns. I will shop with one device, and since I look around, finding the things I want, I narrow down my search, the items I may want to purchase, and then I'll use my system that's not on the guest network to actually make the purchase, because that's the machine that has my credit card information. And I have, so therefore I go directly to the site I want to, I buy the item, and then I can go back and surf on my other item. It's just all about just taking a little extra caution to be safe with
that's it. That's a good idea, good interesting thing. So tell me something about what's some interesting stories that you've got, or what's some oddball things that you've been working on. I hear this thing about some encryption that's happening around here.
That is a very big problem that business and private individuals are seeing right now. It's called ransomware. And basically what happens is you get an infection where all of your data is encrypted. And your antivirus softwares are having very difficult times blocking this software because, in a sense, the software is a legitimate program. There are many cases in business and in private where you encrypt your data. You might encrypt your data so that it's sensitive, and if someone were to get your hard drive or access to your machine, it does them no good. Unless they have the key to unencrypt the data, they can't see it. Well, this productive tool has been turned into a weapon. And your data is encrypted, and they ransom the key so that you can't see your own information now. It's encrypted by the application, and you must purchase a key in essence, to unencrypt your data so that you can see it. That's why they call it ransomware, because they hold your data at ransom.
Interesting. So if obviously some people pay this ransom,
Sure.
some obviously do not, and then what, they have to rely on losing their data, or maybe they've got an old copy?
This is why it's crucial to have an effective backup system. We talk about those things again, and it's usually considered in the business sector to back up your data on a nightly basis, a quarterly basis, what have you. But it's also important to do it in your private life, because what would you do if you lost your trove of treasures on your machine, which is your picture archive of your family and your vacations and the kids growing up? So you do have the option under these ransomware situations to pay the ransom, and they usually use non-traditional currency forms. You may have heard of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a currency form that it's not a real world currency, but it has value because people trade it. It has an exchange, almost like the stock market. So these ransomware companies will request Bitcoins in payment because it's an untraceable monetary source. They don't ask for your credit card. They want you to purchase a Bitcoin and then provide it to them. So and a lot of people, especially in business, will take that step if they don't have an effective backup. It's their only choice to get their data back, because you will not decrypt it. It will not happen with tools that I have seen on the market right now. The data, once encrypted, the cost ratio is just too high to try to get your data unencrypted.
So it sounds like always have a backup, no matter if you're business or personal or anything like that. So how does one back up? Is it, obviously it's not a floppy drive anymore. It's pictures and stuff is just too much, too big in size. Now we're doing cloud backup, right? What does that entail? Obviously, that's another fee that we have to pay.
Sure, and there are a lot of services that provide cloud backups. Again, I could name a few, but there are several services that provide on a cloud backup. Obviously, is backing your data up online to the cloud. It's on a server somewhere. And you can also, though, do backups right locally on your machine. And that can involve very low cost, the purchase of an external hard drive. And then there are some shareware softwares. And some are very good out there. Again, we recommend some, but I hesitate to do so.
We can talk about other pieces of software, names of software later, but right now it's just a good idea to do a backup of some sort, whether it's a paid piece of software. I'm kind of leery sometimes on the absolutely free software. You want to make sure if you do try to do that, you do a test run and make sure it works. And obviously it's not, I'm going to say the common person would say, well, it looks like it's working, but what about in the background when it's done? Is it actually sending your information to something else, or is it stealing your information? So somebody has to kind of watch your network as well and understand and go, this one is really a legitimate piece of software.
You want to research any of that kind of software you want to use extensively.
Absolutely. So what about any other services as far as cloud? I know that now we're talking VPN services. I know that's maybe foreign, but it's a virtual private network, which means what? We're going from one place to another? How does that work, Mike?
With a virtual private network, there's a lot of concept now going away from traditional server-based functionality, where we're putting the servers in the cloud as well. A lot of your business software is running that way. It gives people access to their invoices from their mobile devices. So that's the whole concept of virtuality. It's happening with machines, it's happening with your data, and it's reducing startup costs for a lot of businesses.
So when you say, what about the end user now? Because now I hear that is it the government can have access to what I'm surfing around on? Or they're thinking about doing that rule? What's in place now? What's coming about that the ISPs or something can track what I'm doing?
Well, yeah, there have been some changes.
To make it legit that people are following
Yeah,
me?
there have been some changes in the way that
Yeah.
stuff happens, and we all know of the existence of Homeland Security and the NSA. So it's just a good rule of thumb, and I've taught this ever since I taught in college, and I've taught technology courses. I've always taught people, whatever you put on the internet, whatever you surf, whatever you load to Facebook, or whatever you load to any social media, be comfortable with that information being broadcasted to your entire community or your entire hometown.
Right.
Obviously, it's broadcasted to a much larger scale, but you can conceptualize it easy to think of everyone you know seeing it. That's because everyone can see it.
Right, right. Well, Mike, we are about out of time, only a few seconds left. I appreciate everybody for watching today. Mike, I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Obviously, there's a lot of stuff we could talk about, and maybe we'll get you back on and we'll go into some other details about
Love
this private networks and things like that. But for right now, I'm Dwayne. Thanks for watching Tech Talk, and we will see you next month.
Welcome. My name is Michelle Johnston, and I'm the president at the University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College, and we are so pleased that you are here today for this 1-hour special that we are hosting to give you an idea.
Yeah. Little segment. Maybe you can kind of narrate this as we go through it.
Tell us a little bit about what.
Yeah.
So there.
So,
yeah. Okay.
Is with David Apsley. David
this is all around. There's so many coexisting.
Another one of our great shows. We have a program here called The Voice of Rio.
How far you want to take advantage of that,
Right.
and it is a.
Welcome. My name is